Let's talk about all things home inspections. Home inspections are one of those things that are one of the three most contentious parts of a contract process. The reason the inspection becomes so contentious is, well, buyers, they really want to make sure that they get all the a lot of the encompassing issues repaired for by the seller before they take possession of this house. The sellers don't really want to spend a lot of extra money on this house that they're not going to be living in a very short period of time. So due to that, there's oftentimes heads butting in this process. So the part now, whenever a buyer goes to purchase a house, a home inspection is typically an expense they're going to incur during the process. That expense is going to range anywhere between $300 just to get the basic home inspection, usually about $350, honestly. And then when you start adding on additional home inspections, you're going to get up. You could go, if you add all like the whole gamut of things, you could go $2,000 or even more. In most cases, when you get just the basic home inspection and the termite, you're somewhere around $450 to $500 on that. If you start adding additional ones, it's each additional inspection is going to range anywhere from like $90 to $270, depending on the different additional inspection you get. So with that being said, let's go over some of the, in this video, I'm going to talk about what the different home inspections are, some of the subcategories inspections, and as a buyer and a seller, how you should handle the inspection. The first inspection we're going to talk about is the basic home inspection. They go from the roof to the foundation, checking all the little items in between. When you say, well, Eric, that um, sounds like a very all-encompassing inspection. Why would you need additional inspections? Well, that basic inspection for many items either does just a quick gloss over, kind of scratch the surface, or they don't fully check it at all. Like the foundation, they'll do a basic gloss over. If they notice a crack, they're going to note it, but outside of that, they don't go into great detail like a structural engineer would. Or in the case of the sewer, they don't really check the sewer at all because that's a totally um, underground system that really requires special equipment for. Now that they can smell the sewer or something like that, then that's something they'll observe. That outside of that, they couldn't tell you what the issue with the sewer is. So that's why you have additional inspections. Now let's go over what some of those additional inspections are. The first most common one that most of my clients get is the termite inspection. If you're getting a VA loan, that one's required. For all the others, it's totally your choice, but I highly recommend it. Wood eating insects is a problem for houses typically, as there's a lot of wood in the house that is holding the structure up. So, checking for termites and pests is a good thing to do. The next most common inspection I encounter is the radon inspection. That's very Kansas City, based, and there are a lot of other areas. When I was practicing real estate in Arkansas, it wasn't something I encountered as much there in Arkansas, but in Kansas City, that's a real common uh, inspection. Radon gas is a gas that's in the air. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer. The typically, it's in every home typically, but the goal is to test and see how much is in the home. If it's above a certain range, it's something where we want to install a radon mitigation system. Those radon mitigation systems range anywhere from 750, and I've seen them go as high as close to $2,000. So the that's uh, another system now that test. About 50% of my clients get that one. If you see a radon mitigation system already in the house, in most cases, you can probably skip the radon test. Outside of that, it's really your choice. The next one would be a sewer scope is a very common one. Now, I typically recommend the sewer scope if the home is older, basically 1960, give or take. They used that old cast iron, that old material back then that typically is going to be breaking down at this point. So now, if they're newer homes, they've been installed with the PVC. That's a lot more um, intact, and so may not be required. May not be worth your money to get a sewer inspection right then. But it's totally up to you. What I usually tell my clients on whether it's worth it to you or not, if it's something that you're going to lose sleep over at night, then it's worth you go ahead and paying a little extra money to get that inspection, so you can have a little bit of peace of mind. The other one, next one would be a mold test. Mold test is something. totally up to you. If in most cases, if you're not smelling moisture in the air, if you're not seeing signs of of mold, it may be something you can skip. But again, if it's something that provides you peace of mind, I'd recommend you do it. So the mold test, it's an additional expense. They come in, they test the air in multiple different places of the house. They send it off to a laboratory overnight. We get the results the next day. The radon, we'll go back to that one real fast. The radon is a test where they put a little thing in the house. It's usually in the basement. It stays there for 2 days, and that 2 days it gives you a reading for the mold. Structural engineer, usually I only recommend you get a structural engineer if when we were walking through the house there was things that gave us cause for concern for the structure. Is there major cracks? Do we see leaning walls? This sort of things. Usually, that's something I'm paying real close attention to. I've seen a lot of different foundation issues, and I want to make sure that you aren't buying a house with some major foundation issues. So let's so usually I'll make the recommendation, but it's like all things, peace of mind. If a pool or spa, if the house has a pool, hot tub, that sort of structure, I'd recommend you get the pool or spa. The only reason you wouldn't is if you plan on making that pool or hot tub go away, then in which case save your money. The now now you had the home inspection. Tell me, you say, hey Eric, so what do we do now? The Now we got the results. We have our results right here. What do we do with all that? As a buyer, here's what you do. Ultimately, you got to decide what you can live with, what you can't do. Now, the biggest recommendation I make is you're going to get this big long. The home inspection is very thorough. It's going to cover a lot of different things. Some things are what I like to call a honey-do list. You don't ask for every little thing the inspector pointed out that the seller repair. That's not what I recommend at all. That's a good way to spend all that money on home inspection and then not get the house. The better choice would be to kind of pick and choose what is really important. Do we focus on the big ticket items? The big ticket items being the roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, heating, air, and water heater, and then any major safety issues on top of that. Yeah, if it's items that can there's items on the list that can be fixed real cheap, easy, and by your own hands, then I recommend you just add that to your to do list for later on, and you go ahead and then we just focus on. Ultimately, you're looking for the items that will make you comfortable buying this house, and we focus on those items. Typically, I recommend as a buyer, put yourself in the seller's shoes. Imagine you're selling the house, and if you receive the list, how you would feel about it. Then you weigh that against your, your need to feel comfortable with that, and you figure out a good middle ground there. Now, if you're the seller and you're getting the list of repairs, list of requested repairs or concessions from the buyer, then my recommendation is you got to just kind of weigh it. Now you don't. There's no. It's a negotiation. So at this point, you decide what you are comfortable with doing and not doing. Now I will say, follow your, listen to your realtor's advice, make a decision based off of that. Typically speaking, and I will say, I've seen a lot of sellers where they rejected no, buyers um, buyers list of repair requests, and then buyers walked away from the contract. The sellers end up, a month later selling the house less for a fewer amount than the original buyer was going to buy, and the difference in the amount is greater than it would have cost you just to do the repairs. So oftentimes going back to market is oftentimes a mistake. Usually, what I tell my sellers is the buyer we have right now is maybe the best contract we get. Oftentimes, when you go back, and you cancel based off inspection A, whatever things they disclose to you based off their home inspection now becomes items that you got to disclose to new prospective buyers. Not to mention, uh, your house, there's oftentimes questions around, so you get a lot lower contracts at that point. So that being said, I still, as a seller, do not recommend you don't have to make any repairs. But if you don't plan on doing it, then list the house as is at the beginning. Have that conversation with your realtor, or or figure out what you can. And oftentimes, seller concessions is another way to go on that. So I hope this conversation on home inspections helped you out. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. If At this moment, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like on this video, if you subscribe to this to my channel. That way, you don't miss out on any future updates on market updates, uh, regarding the real estate market, any suggestions in the home buying and selling process. I don't want you to miss out on any of it. Anyways, great to hear from you. Eric Best here. Talk to y'all later.